tutorial is going to be us creating furniture. As you can kind of see on the screen, we already have our end goal. Yeah, so we're going to be creating a really kind of slightly unusual looking table. But as you can see, like when I click on it, it is a full one piece object. We're going to be primarily using the Extrude tool to create this table, which is usually the method that you would end up utilizing if you were to create like most objects, yeah, instead of which you probably would start off with when you're first starting out in 3D, which would be kind of taking objects and stacking them on top of each other. So we're gonna get started with that. So I'm gonna, right now I kept this as my demo table, but as you can see, it's a little bit of an unusual table, but again, we're going to be extruding this out from one cube. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this table right here, okay, and get us started. Also gonna kind of bring back my channel box. I'm gonna click on this upper right hand corner. So I'm gonna go into my create menu. I'll go to polygon primitives and click on cube. Yeah, so I'm gonna have my most basic cube over here. By the way, if you notice your cube does not show up like as as what appears on the screen, you may have to go into here, create polygon primitives, go to the square next to cube, and just make sure your settings match up with this. Yeah, so your width, height, and depth are 1, 1, 1, 1, and then your width divisions, height divisions, and depth divisions are also all set at 1 also. So all 6 of these fields should be set at 1. What you probably notice is, again, if you have them all set at 1, 1, 1, that's your width, your height, and your depth. So it's gonna look like a piece of dice. Now, as soon as we create this, I'm gonna go and rename this. So right now it's at pcube1. We want to make sure that it is labeled accurately. So we're going to declare this is our table. Now, it may not look like much of a table, but again, we're going to use the Extrude tool and kind of grow the table out of this one cube. I'm also going to kind of bring the cube up just a bit so that we're off the ground. This part is kind of up to you if you want to do this. The main thing though is I'm pulling this upwards because we do have our grid over here, and some people don't like it when it's halfway submerged. I'm also going to go to the channel box and hide that. You do not have to if you have enough room on your screen. For my purposes though, I do have a smaller screen, so I'm going to be hiding that for now. Okay, after this, we're gonna start off with like the table neck. Yeah, so I'm gonna jump into my scale tool. Yeah, so remember for that one, you can either click on this tool right here, or you can press the R key, yeah, to get to your scale tool. I'm gonna kind of make it a little bit taller. And this is gonna be again the neck of it. We can kind of eyeball that a little bit. The other thing I'm gonna do is kind of jump modes. Right now we're in object mode, which you can select as the whole object. I'm gonna right click though and go into face mode, and then this allows me to select individual flat surfaces. Yeah, so individual faces. So if you notice, if I as I kind of scroll over, I can select a bunch of different faces. It's like attempting to is basically, it's active if it's turning red. Yeah. I will be clicking on this bottom face right here. So again, to get into face mode, we're going right click and face. Yeah, and I'm going to click on this bottom face. I'm remaining in my scale tool, so I'm still in R. I'm just going to kind of take this bottom face and scale it smaller. Yeah, so we'll have it kind of tapering off near the bottom. Now we're not going to a point, yeah, but we are going to have like a smaller base. Okay, after this, now we're going to go and do our most important part, and this again, this is the main tool that we're going to be working with, which is the extrude tool. This allows us to create additional sections from your polygon. To do so, there's two ways. You can either go to your edit mesh menu and you can choose extrude, or the other option is, very awesomely, we have a keyboard shortcut. This is relatively new in Maya, but this is Command E. Yeah, so Command E. So you can do one or the other. For now, just visually, I'm going to go edit mesh extrude right up here. If you want to jump and start using your shortcut immediately after this, anytime I say extrude, you can totally do that as well. Okay, now as soon as you go into extrude 2, all of a sudden you notice the manipulator has changed. Now we kind of have these arrows going in multiple directions. We also have these cubes on the outside, and then this additional rotational circle on the outside. Now the main thing we're going to do is create a new section. So this is our first section up here, and we're going to create like another section that kind of goes down right over here. Yeah, and if you notice, you can kind of see your edges right over here that are creating your boundary between those two sections. Yeah. Now, the reason why we did this is so that we can kind of manipulate this area separately. Yeah, so again, I extruded. All I did was grab the down arrow, and if you notice, it'll turn yellow when it's active. I did kind of bring that down a little bit. Okay. The other thing is we're gonna expand this out. Yeah. So I'm gonna change modes. Yeah. So now we're gonna go back to our scale tool. So if you remember, yeah, you can click on your scale tool or you can press R. Yeah. So either way is great. Yeah. So that or R. And then what we're going to do here is scale this out, yeah. And again, because this is a separate section, you'll notice that the base, yeah, will kind of scale out and it'll affect this section right here, but it'll leave these guys alone because we do have the edges being our division. All right, so that's our first extrude. Yeah, so now we can have this is our first, like, now we have like two major sections of the table. We're gonna do one more extrude going downwards just to give this a little bit more height. So again, you folks can go and do Command E, or you can do Edit Mesh Extrude. It doesn't matter which one. I'm gonna use the down arrow though to create a little bit of height right over here. Right, so now we have three sections, right? So pretty cool. We're working more towards the bottom of the table. We're actually going to do the tabletop last, yeah? So the next thing we're gonna do is kind of set up these little legs at the bottom. So what I'm looking at is I wanna kind of have four little legs that kind of come out the bottom. And again, this is kind of an unusual table, but it allows us to practice extruding multiple things at one time. Yeah. So for this table kind of really works for us to get that kind of experience. Okay. So we're in our perspective view right now. I'm going to ask you to hit the space bar. And if you can switch to your top view. Yeah. So we're going to be switching to our top view. Remember, our orthographic views are super awesome because they don't let you rotate. They just kind of like they're like set cameras. Yeah. Now what I'm gonna do from this view is I'm actually gonna do four slices. Yeah. So I'm gonna slice here, slice going across, a slice going back to front, and then also slice one more time side to side. Yeah. So to do this, we're actually gonna jump into our mesh tools menu, which is a kind of a new one for us. Yeah. So we're gonna go to mesh tools, and then we're gonna choose this option called the multi-cut option. Yeah. So the multi-cut option. If you never use this, if you have used this tool, if you never used this tool, you can go ahead and click on it. If you have used this tool though, you may want to click on the square, just kind of do a reset. So you can make sure that your tool will kind of work the same way mine did, yeah, or the demo will. So again, mesh tools, multi-cut, and again, you can go to the square and reset the settings if you need it to be, if you may have used this tool before. Okay, but what the multi-cut tool is pretty strong. It actually does a slice through your geometry, yeah. So for example, again, I was talking about this line, this line, this line, and this line, yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold down the shift key, and I'm gonna have my cursor outside of the kind of outside of the table. Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of go to maybe right around here. Okay, and I'm just gonna do a click and drag. Yeah, so again, mesh tools. Yeah, multi-cut, and then I'm going to be out here. You'll notice that the tool has turned kind of into like this blade. I'm going to hold down my shift key. Again, I'm outside, and I'm just going to click and drag. Yeah, and what this allows me to do, is you notice, is it'll keep the angle like very clean. Yeah, so right here, I just want like 100% straight line, yeah, going directly across. Yeah, that kind of matches with the back. So I'm going to kind of drag this across. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to do is let go of my mouse before I let go of my shift key. Yeah, so let go of my mouse before I let go of my shift key. That'll create a nice little straight line. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing now using this as a guide. So I kind of want to make a cut that is going from back to front. Yeah, so I'm going to kind of click on, looks like right about here. Click and drag. Yeah, and again, pretty close. Looks like I missed a little bit, but no big deal. I can use that corner. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing again, holding down the shift key, click and drag. Okay, get this corner right over here. By the way, if you make a mistake on here, no problem. Just do a Command Z. Yeah, so you can do a Command Z. That'll let you jump back out. You may have to go back into your mesh tools though and click on multi-cut afterwards. Yeah. Okay, now if you notice, I did the four cuts over here. Go ahead and do that. The main thing that you're trying to do also though here is make sure you only do those four cuts. If you notice, this tool is very persistent. It'll stick around until you tell it you want it to stop. So like if I go like this, it'll still let me cut and cut and cut. Yeah, so we have to be careful about that. If you want to get out of this tool, very simple. All you have to do is either go to your toolbar and click on the arrow, or you can press the Q key. Yeah, so either way, it'll let you kind of jump out of that tool. All right. Okay, so again, we have our cuts now. Okay, the main thing that I'm looking for here is we did cut the top, but remember the multi-cut tool is very strong. It kind of does a slice all the way to the bottom. Yeah, so it goes all the way to the bottom, and this is again the objective is I really wanted to get these four corners over here. Yeah. Okay, so if you can double check, make sure you're still in face mode. Remember face mode, your faces will actually highlight red. And we're going to select multiple faces under here. In fact, we're going to select all four of those corners. Yeah, so I'm going to click on this one right here first. Then holding down the shift key, I'm then going to click on the other corners. Yeah, so holding down shift, number 2, number 3, and number 4. Yeah, and then also do a quick check around. Yeah, there's a chance when you're selecting, sometimes you may end up selecting an additional face, and that'll kind of deform your object as you're doing the next step, which is going to be extruding. Yeah. Now, if you notice, we've done two extrudes. Yeah. So here's extrude section number 1 was up here before we sliced it, and then number 2 was like this row down here. Okay. Now we're going to be extruding, but we're going to be extruding doing 4 faces versus just the 1 face where we did earlier. Yeah. Okay. Again, the tool will stay the same. You can do your Command E or you can do your Edit Mesh Extrude. Either one's great. Okay, and you'll notice that your manipulator will show up on just one of the 4 faces. Yeah, so visually it kind of makes sense. Basically, this is going to be our home base. This is going to be the one that we're going to pay attention to. You may notice yours is in a different location. Just know that it doesn't really matter which corner the manipulator shows up on as long as you follow the same procedure. Yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna make these kind of weird little legs in the bottom. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna extrude. Yeah, so I'm gonna go to the arrow that's pointing downwards. Yeah, in the Y direction. I'm gonna click on it and drag it down. Yeah, so again, this is the arrow, and I'm gonna kind of drag this down. And what you're going to notice right off the bat is while we're extruding that one down, all the other 3, they listen as well, which is great. Yeah, that'll save you a lot of time. You don't have to go in and make sure that like measure each one out and do them like have to quadruple your efforts. Yeah, it'll all be working equally at the same time. Okay, now the other thing that we're going to do with these little sections is we're going to practice scaling multiple objects at once. Sorry, multiple faces at once. Okay, so to do that, if you notice, we have these little squares on the edges at the end of the arrows for each of these manipulators. Yeah, so here's your Y, here's your, I think this is your Z. Yeah, that's your Z. And then here's your X, yeah, between those 3. What we're going to do though is we're going to activate this the center area. Yeah, so you can choose any of these cubes, and all I'm going to ask you to do, yes, you can choose the blue one, the red one, the green one, doesn't matter. Just go ahead and click on it one time real quick. So we're just going to click, and that's it. Okay, and what you'll notice is when you click it, this little blue square in the middle kind of shows up, right? And this will allow you to kind of scale all of these 4, but while maintaining the square shape at the bottom. So for example, if I'm clicking on this one right here, when I click and drag to the left, they're all going to shrink down. Yeah, so they're all going to shrink down. Okay, if we had dragged it to the right, it would have expanded out, but we're going to go and work with something like this instead. Yeah, so I want you to kind of scale that inwards. Yeah. All right. Okay, so now here's how we're going to practice this method. Yeah. So again, we're going to repeat that process. We're going to do an extrude, bring the new section down, then we're going to scale it, and this time we're going to alternate. So we scaled in, yeah, to get this section right here. We're now going to scale out to get our secondary section. So I'm going to do another Command E, bring this new piece down. Okay, so we got that part, and then I'm gonna go and activate our middle cube again. So I'm gonna click on one of these cubes. This time, let's say I'll just click on the green cube. Okay, now we got that little blue cube that shows up in the middle again, right? I'm then going to scale it, but this time I'm gonna go in the opposite direction. So now I'm gonna scale it to the right, and you'll notice that it'll now do the opposite of what we had done in the previous scale. Yeah, so went inwards last time, now we're going to scale this out. Yeah, so I'm going to ask you to continue with this. We're going to do this a few more times. Yeah, so I'm going to be extruding again. Okay, bring this piece down. Okay, activate the scale within the extrude tool. Bring that in. Okay, and then I'm going to do that one more section. So we'll go here and then activate the cube again. Scale it out. And then one more time. This will be our last one. Yeah, so this is our last section right here. So I click on this one right here and then scale to that. Yeah. And then so we kind of did like 2.5 of these. Yeah, so 2.5. This should look pretty good right there. All right, and so that's how we can kind of create again multiple extrudes all at once. Yeah, super helpful. Again, if you do this and follow that sequence, each of these should be identical in terms of their in terms of like their appearance. Yeah, which is again very ideal. Yeah, you don't want to spend time having to do them multiple times at once or having to cut things up and repaste. And yeah, it's a much quicker process. Yeah. All right, so that's going to be the bottom of the table. So far so good. If you notice, we're still in face mode. Yeah. Basically, when you're extruding, you're going to spend a lot of time just in face mode. Now you'll notice now we kind of have our table going. If you remember our demo table though, we definitely had a much bigger tabletop. If we stop short here, not much of a table, right? Maybe you can put like a coffee cup up here or something. Okay, not ideal. So again, we're now gonna make our tabletop. Like I said, that was gonna be our last thing. So I'm gonna get this top face right here. Again, extruding one more time, yeah. And again, Command E is great. Edit Mesh Extrude is great. Okay, I'm then gonna go here and I'm going to scale this out, yeah. So over here, I can click on the cube over here. Yeah, so one of the three cubes, doesn't matter. I want that middle cube though. And I'm gonna make a very large tabletop. Yeah, so if you notice, I'm kind of scaling this out. Now, Maya is gonna visually protest this a bit. Yeah, so this is kind of an interesting extrude because you notice it's very thin. Yeah, and I'm not going to bring this up, so I'm not going to move this up. I'm going to extrude on another section, but Maya will let you know. Yeah, oh, this is kind of weird. It looks paper thin, because of all this distortion. But no problem. When we do our next extrude, yeah. So when we do our next extrude, this is how we're gonna make sure that we have some height, and it's gonna add a little bit more realism, right? So now when we extrude this time, yeah. So I did my edit mesh extrude. You can do that, or you can do your Command E. Now we have our tabletop and it has a little bit more like visual stability. So now it's thick enough that it looks like, okay, it'll support breakfast, lunch, dinner, and whatever else. Yeah, that may be late night snacks, whatever. Yeah. Okay. Now the last thing that we're gonna do here is we're going to do a setup extrude. Yeah. So this is like a way you can kind of create things a little bit more fanciness. Yeah. This is a pretty simple table. However, we're gonna do a little bit of a drop in the middle. Yeah, so we're gonna do what's called a picture frame extrude, or I don't know if that's an official term, but that's basically what we're gonna be doing up here. So I'm gonna go edit mesh extrude. Okay, and as you know, a picture frame. Yeah, so I'm gonna click on one of the cubes here. A picture frame, basically that's the outline, right? So we kind of have this border. Yeah, so that'll be basically our frame. Then we're kind of imagining this little section in the middle being like where you would put a picture. Yeah. Now, literally, I guess you could put it on the table here, but you don't necessarily have to, right? Okay, but the reason why I did this here is because I kind of wanted to create like a little bit of a drop. This is kind of like if you think of like maybe like a pool table or something, like sometimes there's like a little bit of what's called an inset, yeah, which is where things get kind of dropped down a little bit. It just looks a little bit more fancy, I guess. So I'm gonna do one more extrude, yeah. So I'm gonna go edit mesh extrude one more time, okay. And if you notice, I did not just go to the arrow. I did an extrude first, yeah, because I wanted to have this little bit of a drop like that, yeah. Be careful about just moving things down. If I had not done this extrude and I just used this arrow, okay, it would have done this, which is not as appealing. Yeah, it kind of has that like slide down the sides. Yeah, so be careful about that. Again, I'm gonna do one more extrude up here. Okay, and then bring that piece down. All right, and then right there we have our table. Again, you can sort of tell like it's a little bit more complicated, I think, than just stacking things on top of each other, but it does give you a lot more. It does give you a better looking like piece of furniture because everything kind of is like stuck together, yeah. And even when you're looking at it in your outliner, yeah, it's just more organized, yeah. So again, there's our table, okay, and yeah, we'll get to some other furniture after this, and also some more extrude practice.